Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode number 193 of Ref the District here on the Believe Network. I'm the Stoner. That's Trevi Trev, also known as Cricket. We'll see if he gets that name replaced back to Trev tonight, right? That could happen.
Maybe.
I don't hear any crickets yet.
It's raining right now.
Oh.
But,
I like it. Nathan, of course, is out this week, the rest of the month, while he gets ready for his big debut in the theater. So it's Trev and I tonight, but you're going to have a good time with us. We appreciate everybody who is here with us tonight. We, of course, are always here. We stream live every single Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and YouTube. So be sure to stop by, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you are not already subscribed. A little known fact about the YouTube algorithm, Trev, is that when subscribers watch the video and hit the like button, that's when the algorithm kicks in and starts sending it all over the place. So if you are a subscriber, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're not, hit the like button and then hit the subscribe button. We appreciate it because we're always putting out some hot stuff every single week. Don't worry, Nathan will be here for the instant reaction. And of course, his Ask Nathan segments on Mondays, where you can get involved and ask certain questions of what you want to know about the Commanders, the 3-1 NFC East division leading Commanders. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please be sure to leave a rating and review and subscribe to the podcast there so you can get those automatic downloads. There is a reminder here, Trev, that the super chat is always open and available.
Always.
Don't
Always
have to
open.
do that, of course. We try to get to as many comments that people have and questions within the chat. But if you do the super chat, it's a guaranteed lock that we are going to highlight it and give it its proper due and proper context. So if you want to do that, feel free to do that as well. We, of course, are brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head over to our online casino and get in on the game of blackjack or poker and unwind with one of our more than 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. Trev, we have got a hot show tonight and appreciate everybody again who is already in here. A lot of our usuals, and we don't take you all for granted. So appreciate Uptown Dre, Locked On. Mike Lee's here, JG, Nathan, of course, is here. Brian, it's always Eric, Dougford, all you all that are here already. We appreciate all of you, of course. And tonight on the show, about 8:45 p.m. later, that's where we're going to have Spencer German. I don't know why I said Graham. I've been saying Graham all day. Spencer German, who hosts the Believe Network's Cleveland Browns show. It's called The Dog Check, DAWG. We'll get an inside look at the Browns, why they seem to be off to this rough 1-3 start after a playoff year, a double-digit win year last year. What's going on there in Cleveland? So we're going to talk all about that. And, of course, we're going to preview the game, talking all about Cleveland there. That's starting at 8:45 in the cool down. And we also got to make our survivor pick, Trev. We survived last week with the 49ers, so we're on to week number 2. Well, week number 5 in the NFL, but week number 2 for us. It was second chance survivor pool that we are in. About 8 o'clock, Trev.
Okay.
We are going to talk about the non-elephant in the room, the thing that everybody's talking about. And we're going to talk all about Jayden Daniels, what's going on so far after 4 games. And we're going to compare and contrast that to other starts of other quarterbacks in their first 4 games. Little quiz that I got set up for you, Trev, and for everybody who
pop
is
quiz.
here.
Okay.
Pop quiz on Jayden Daniels, his start. That's going to be fun. That's in the game right around 8 o'clock. But right now we want to talk more about what happened on Sunday late afternoon out in the desert and the Commanders' dismantling of the Cardinals 42-14. But before we get to that, Trev, there's been a lot of stuff going on today, right, within Commander land. So throw a couple of updates at us of what's been happening with the Washington Commanders today or over the last couple of days.
Well, start off on the positive as always. Jayden Daniels won yet another award within the first 4 weeks of NFL football, the Air and Ground Player of the Week. I'm not sure what that really means. I just saw on the team website and I didn't have time to research that, but it's another award on the positive side. And
there's probably Trev, there's probably a pretty good chance that he wins the NFC Rookie of the Week, Rookie of the Month.
Oh yeah. I think he got a Hemi Award on ESPN NFL Live. So he might get that award too. Yeah.
They might need to rename the award like the Jayden Daniels trophy or something like that. The way he's dominated.
Jayden Daniels Offensive Rookie of the Week award or something like that. Yeah, I agree. He deserves that. Couple of injury notes. We opened up the 21 practice day window for linebacker Jordan McGee, draft pick out of Temple, I believe it was. Yeah. Marcus Mariota's on that list as well. He was dealing with a chest injury. And also F.A. Obata, defensive lineman, who had his leg completely blown out, is, I guess, being able to start practice up again. That's good news. Don't look to see them playing on Sunday.
Yeah. Do you think, let's just say they play on Sunday, which we don't know yet, right? Because the 21-day window is open, but of course they have not signed them or brought them onto the active roster. But let's just say the two guys you mentioned, McGee and Obata. Yeah. Let's say they do come up to the active roster. Do you see them making a difference?
Yes.
For this defense? Okay. Well,
I do. I think he brings the same level of explosion and athleticism as Frankie Louvu does. Our linebacker core, I know they ranked 7th or 8th out of all the linebackers this past week, which is still pretty good out of 32 teams, but you can tell a difference. Louvu's running with his head, like his head's on fire. B-Wags is there to stop the run occasionally. He's not very good in pass coverage as much, but he's also Bobby Wagner, so he's going to make a tackle at some point. He still got it, but just not the youth that he once had. So I think McGee's going to bring that along to maybe give Louvu a little break. It seems like Louvu's carrying the linebacker room right now. Yeah. It might shake it up with defense. It might have some different looks on defense once he's back and ready to go, because I know they really liked him in training camp and this whole offseason. So I look for that to happen. And then for Obata, just give that D-line some more rotation, some more breathers. Because right now we don't have Cleveland Farrell. He's been out, so we've had to call up some practice squad players or put Jamin Davis in there a little bit to go alongside with Dorrance Armstrong. I know Fowler got a lot of playing time in Farrell's absence, but we've seen Obata before. He's a decent player. He's nothing that people should game plan for, but he's definitely not somebody you should sleep on. He will bring nothing but help and depth to this defensive line. The more the merrier. So, because apparently, our interior is getting double teamed, so it's got to come from somewhere. So I guess bring that to it. And I see Eckler is trending in the direction to start coming back on Sunday. I think he's taken the proper steps in his concussion protocol to be ready for Sunday. Concussions are funny. Sometimes it takes super long. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you might have a symptom one day, but you got to go through the protocol anyway. So they're tricky. But if it's coming from him himself, he feels more like himself and ready to go. So look forward to that happening. Jamison Crowder has been placed on injured reserve. He's dealing with a calf issue. He didn't practice that much this week or the week before the Cardinals game, but he still was out there. At least he was dressed, I think, this past weekend. But he's now in IR, which means somebody's going to be promoted from the practice squad or something like that, to take a spot. Some shifts in the roster for sure coming. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Okay. So
I think the Eckler deal is a pretty big deal if he does play.
Yes.
Because, look, Jeremy McNichols did a fantastic job this past week, but let's not get carried away.
Right.
Austin Eckler is a different animal.
Exactly. Let's not forget McNichols is on his 8th team in 9 years. Just
That's
let
right.
that sink in. Not, don't disrespect, because he's obviously better than you and me combined.
That's
He's
right.
a professional athlete, but like he said, it's not get carried away. He's not. I don't think he's consistent enough for that to keep happening each week. Unlike Eckler. Eckler is a weapon.
Now, here's a question for you before we kind of go back to Sundays, where we're just going to wrap up last Sunday's victory a little bit. But Mariota's coming back, and there has been a few rumblings, if you will, about, the Dolphins are desperate for a quarterback.
Okay.
Right? Would you trade Mariota for a fifth rounder? Would you do that?
Yeah, he gone. And that's just
gone.
That's just because he didn't end well in Atlanta when he was there. I mean, you saw that when he played against us. I think he ended the game with an interception. You saw his frustration. He kind of just had he left the team, and then he went to Philly for a year, and pretty much didn't see the field unless Philly was blowing out somebody, which was kind of happening when they were 10-1. But then towards the end of the season, you didn't see him much. And then we go get him. We pay him the Jacoby Brissett backup deal, $8 million to come here and be a backup. Which some people, I think you said, that's not really backup money.
Yeah.
It's kind of like fighting to be a starter, but we all knew Jayden was starter from day one since we drafted him. So, yeah, trade him. And that's also because Jeff Driscoll has outplayed Mariota in the offseason and preseason, if you ask me. Mariota didn't see much of the field preseason, I think, because of injury too, but that tells you something right there. And when Driscoll was called upon, he showed that he could be a good, significant quarterback too. And that's kind of been his role ever since he switched to quarterback. He's been a good number 2. He spent some time in Cincinnati doing that. So, yeah, give him away for a fifth. I'm cool with that.
All right, let me throw a little wrench in that here for you.
Ooh, I like wrenches.
Jayden Daniels has gone out of his way to say how important Marcus Mariota, I should say, has been to his development. Even when Mariota was on the IR for these 4 games.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, and by trading him away for a fifth, let's be honest, a 5th round pick is a guy that you hope makes the team.
Yeah.
Right. He's not a guy you're counting on. So it's not really a great draft pick. But what he brings to Jayden's development may be more important than a 5th round pick. And maybe more important than saying that he's better than or he's not as good as Jeff Driscoll anyway. So his value is not necessarily on the field if he has to see the field. His value is in the quarterback room, is on the practice field, the locker room, all of that. So you got to weigh that, right? Are you willing to still, if Jayden Daniels goes up to Adam Peters and says, don't trade him, or let me put it a better way, knowing Jayden Daniels' style, please, I'm asking you not to trade Mariota. I need him. I like him as my guy who sits next to me every day.
Then you don't.
Are you still trading him for a fifth?
No, if Jayden Daniels comes to me and I'm Adam Peters, I'm like, okay. I'm going to ask why, explain the reasons why he's, beneficial to you.
Yeah.
But also Adam Peters is a team guy. Because I know, Jayden was in his ear a little bit, whether through his agent or something, just casual about getting Brandon Ayuk to come here.
Yeah.
I mean, and Adam still didn't budge.
That didn't happen.
So I know he is our franchise quarterback, but he is a rookie. And I think Adam Peters would consider it, but I do think Adam Peters is a more team-oriented guy than rather. But I know he wants to build around Jayden, but I don't think Marcus Mariota, no offense, is that important of a piece for what we need in the future.
Okay.
I think he's done great helping him to get this far, I guess.
Yeah.
But he can call him on the cell phone. He can FaceTime him every day after practice. He's got Doug Williams right there in the building.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Brian Johnson and Pritchett and other people that's play quarterback. So he's got other resources rather than Marcus Mariota. I see what you're saying. I really do. But
all of those guys cannot bring is they cannot bring the perspective of a number 2 overall pick, right? A franchise savior,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he brings a perspective, and Mariota being the same kind of humble type quarterback player, maybe that's rubbing off in the positive way on Jayden Daniels. Maybe we should give some credit to Mariota because Jayden Daniels has given a lot of credit to Mariota right from the beginning. He in training camp, in the beginning of training camp, he talked all about Mariota and how important he's been for him. So
he did.
I would go against trading Mariota for anything just for the draft picks. I wouldn't do it. I would have Jeff Driscoll as my number 2 quarterback.
Still,
but I need Mariota in that quarterback room simply because Jayden Daniels needs him in that quarterback room.
I can see that. I don't have a problem with that either.
Okay. All right. Well,
as long as Driscoll's number 2, it's cool then.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to this past Sunday and the 42-14 demolition of the Arizona Cardinals. We've had a couple of days to kind of sit on it and relish it. And what are some of the things that you've seen, Trev, over the last few days that maybe we didn't notice on Sunday when we did our instant reaction? What are some of the things with the video clips and all that other that kind of stood out to you about what Washington did in Arizona?
The Cardinals aren't that good.
Well, the Cardinals are definitely not that good. That's
a factor that plays into our success. No offense to Still again. Cliff's doing a magnificent job. I think he's blowing all of our minds. By the way, he's been calling this game the past 3 weeks. First week was a little shaky, first time, but the past 3 weeks especially, because what are we doing? We're improving every week.
Yes.
And he's proving that he's not a college offense. Might be college concepts, but it's not run college style. Might be a different version of air raid. I don't know, but what it is right now is Cliff Kingsbury's offense. That's what I'm going to call it for right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Cardinals are pretty bad. But still, you got rookie left tackles playing some snaps. You got a rookie quarterback. You got a rookie slot receiver. The rookie quarterback is huge because this is the first time he's throwing to these guys when it matters outside of training camp. No matter how much they work on timing and stuff, nothing's the same as an actual NFL game. You got brand new coaches. Front office is obviously brand new. We got new fans. Like it
took over. The fans took over that stadium.
Yes, they did.
You could hear very clearly on the broadcast. You could hear the "Let's Go Redskins" chant.
Yes,
that was coming through there.
And we looked like a team. Like Sunday, we looked like a team.
Yeah.
Defense was making tackles. They were communicating with each other. They were relying on each other, and the person they were relying on was there for them. The offense is a wagon. The offensive line looks like they're actually learning something. It's not just one aspect of the offensive line that's more dominant than the other. They're all equally good so far. The people that we signed in free agency outside of Michael Davis are kind of living up to their 1-year deals or the reason why we brought them here. Like people like Joe Witt said, it's slow starting, but we're getting closer than you think, and you saw that. So that's what I've seen the past couple of days. I mean, the offense is crazy. We're playing as one.
There is a great clip that Dan Orlovsky put out. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to watch it.
No, I'm gonna watch it after the guys.
It's like a 5-minute clip or whatever, but it's fantastic because what it did is it went through every play of the drive, their second to last touchdown, when they were up at the time 27-14. Remember, it was 27-7. I don't remember the exact score. Excuse me. And what they did on that drive against the Cardinals, that entire drive was no huddle. Okay, that's the important thing. Now, Orlovsky kind of slipped up when he was talking about it and said they never changed personnel. And he clarified in his tweet that he was wrong about that. They did change up personnel, but they no huddled throughout the whole thing. And to watch the variety of plays and the variety of formations and the variety of personnel on that particular drive is mind-blowing. And I keep going back to the fact that Jayden Daniels has such a command of this offense that he's not having any trouble getting lined up, getting the play called, and executing the play properly. And in this drive, they had 13 personnel, they had 12 personnel, they had 11 personnel, they had 5 wide, they had all different types of plays, and all of the different plays in that drive were all successful because they were executed properly by the entire offense, to include the offensive line, to include a rookie tight end in Ben Sinnott, to include a rookie receiver, like you said, in Luke McCaffrey, and of course your rookie quarterback. And all of these guys played a specific role, and every play except for one was a chunk play on that drive. And they just drove it right down their throat and put the game away, just like you would hope a team will do when they're already up. You want them to put the dagger on them. You want them to take their will to fight the rest of the game and say it's over, because we're just going to run it right down your throat. We're going to throw quick passes. And then it resulted in the touchdown to Terry McLaurin. And it's a great clip to watch to just show how they executed so well on just this one particular drive, all no huddle.
Which is crazy because
and also, Trev, not a no huddle where everybody runs back and gets in the exact same spot.
Yes.
But they all have, it's a different play, and he communicates the play. No need to huddle. Everybody gets to their correct spot. No illegal formations or illegal shifts or anything like that. And they execute the play.
Which is wild, because it made me say, I think on Instant Reaction, that we haven't been using the up-tempo no huddle, but we have. It's just like you said, there's no hurry. Right. It's not a hurry up offense. It's just a no huddle offense.
Right.
And there's a difference. And not only is Jayden doing that, but you've got brand new faces on the offensive line. They got to know and retain to know the play too without huddling up. That's awesome. You got Terry. He's the only vet out there. Besides, you got Noah Brown, but you know what I mean. He's the only one that's
Noah Brown is basically, he's not a rookie, but he's a rookie to this team.
Yeah, exactly. Luke McCaffrey, Ben Sinnott, Zach Ertz, they're all brand new to this team. And for them to just get together, no huddle style, and know the offense and execute it the proper way, that's props to not only Jayden, but to the entire offensive coordinator and the room. Tight ends coach, O-line coach, quarterback coach, receivers coach. That whole offensive side of the room, the ball room is clicking.
Yeah.
And they're understanding. We don't have someone that's me on this team. Not anymore. Not
anymore, and not yet.
Yes, you're right.
We'll see what happens, but you're right. Not yet. Absolutely.
And it's paying off.
It's paying off, and that beatdown that they gave Arizona. When you go into Arizona and you shut down a Kyler Murray like they did defensively, and we can talk all about the run game, the run defense, and all of that. Right? They held Arizona to 14 points. 7 points in each half. You'll take that every single time.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I'm kind of used to us just giving up runs, but when we need to contain the people that we game plan for, we take them out of the game. That's a victory for me on defense. And we did that with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison. Yeah.
And we're going to talk all about Cleveland and the weapons that they have that we're going to have to worry about on both sides of the ball later on in the show. But we're just trying to wrap up a little bit on the Cardinals. And it's the couple of stats that kind of came out of that game that maybe we didn't talk about. The 38 points, at least 38 points in back-to-back games, the first time since 1991 for this team. Since 1991. And at this point, when I watched that game, and I don't know if you were the same, Trev, when I watched that game on Sunday, when the offense was out on the field, I felt like they were going to score every time, and they darn near did. They had one punt and they had one interception. But you get the feeling now, watching this team offensively, that they can score every single possession. It's only been 4 games, Trev.
I know. That's why
we got to kind of wait and see, right?
Yes, I'm not going to lie. I still get nervous every time it's our turn to touch the ball, because in the past, let's say we do go down, drive the field, and score some points, and we get the ball back. It's 3 and out. And 3 and out.
Yeah.
Then we get a first down, but then it's 3 and out. We end up punting. sometime that drive. So I'm still nervous and actually waiting for that to happen. At the same time, I'm also like, yo, we out here scoring. Like, yeah, we kicked 7 field goals 2 weeks ago, but now it's like, what's a field goal?
Yeah,
We're
right.
getting tutties. We're getting touchdowns. So,
Yeah. So awfully impressive there in Arizona and everything that this offense did. And something that you sort of hit on a little bit, Trev, that I wanted to hit on before we move on and start talking all specifically about Jayden Daniels. But one of the things that you hit on is that they're getting contributions, like you said, except for Michael Davis, from every single offseason acquisition, whether it be a draft pick or from a free agent signing. Like, just offensively, think about the guys that they brought in. Eckler has been huge. Noah Brown has been huge. Luke McCaffrey has been what we expected.
He's been clutch.
He's been clutch, and he's going to get better. His touches are going to get better. Ben Sinnott, I don't even think he has a catch yet, but he's been proven valuable blocking wise, right?
Yep.
Ertz has been exactly who we thought he would be. He's going to be open. He's going to catch the ball. He's not going to have any big breaking, massive plays.
Those days are over.
Those days are over.
Get the first down. Yep.
Allegretti has been great as your left guard. Biotish, I think, has been awesome.
Yes.
He's pulling on some of these plays. Not many centers pull on, sweeps.
But he's getting out there.
You have to be athletic enough to do that.
He's making Chase Roullier look like who? Who's Chase
right? Brandon Coleman, who is platooning over there at left tackle. I went back, and when I watched the game again, I watched every single snap of his. And in the pass game, he was awesome. In the run game, he's got some more work to do, and that's probably why he hasn't taken over full time. But Cornelius Lucas in the run game has been really good.
So that's probably why they split reps. They have about the same amount of reps on Sunday. I saw that stat.
Yep, just so about the same
Lucas
amount.
in on run downs and Coleman on pass.
So it's been really impressive. That's offense. Of course, Jayden Daniels, right? We don't even have to talk about that, right?
At all.
And then Jeremy McNichols, right?
Yep.
So that's offensively. Those are all the guys that they brought in offensively. And let's talk about special teams. Tyler Ott, who is the new long snapper. You haven't heard his name once. Thank God.
Nope.
That's what the job of the long snapper is. We never want to hear your name. And then your kicker, Austin Seibert, has made every single kick.
Yep.
Which is stunning at this point.
Yeah.
Then defensively, you've got on the line, you've got Farrell, who was good before he got hurt. Fowler's been fine. Your 7th rounder, Jean Baptiste, has
got a sack
right here and there. Dorrance Armstrong had a sack and a half last week. Luvu and Wagner in the middle have improved. I'm a little down on Wagner right now, and maybe we'll talk about that later when we get to the Browns preview. Chin has gotten better and better each week. Sanastrill has gotten better after a couple of tough weeks. Right. Johnny Newton is new. He's gotten his snap counts up. He's gotten better as they've gone along. And who else is that? Is that everybody on the defensive side?
Noah Igba.
Noah I.
He's had his lumps, but he's coming around.
Trev, I like him. I've been watching him. I like him.
I like him too.
He's physical. He plays hard. I don't know. I really like Noah I. That's what I call him now because I would keep an eye out for him.
We got Michael Walker, linebacker. I guess he's on special teams. He's
special teamer. But you're right. I mean, Walker and the other guy, the guy who had those 2 penalties the 1 week.
Yeah, Bellore. He had a better week this week.
Right.
But
Nankoff has been good on special teams.
Yep.
Who's been the only disappointment on everybody that they brought in is Michael Davis, and that's it.
It is, bro.
That's
been
the
active.
only guy that they've brought in from the offseason that has been disappointing.
Bro, he hasn't seen the field in 2 games out of 4 games already.
Yeah.
And we haven't even got to division play yet, really.
Look, you can't go 100%, right? You can't bat 1,000 when you are bringing in so many different guys, but they've done awfully close. Look, it's only been 4 games, but in the NFL, that's 25. That's almost 25%, because now you got 17 games, but that's 25% of the year already is gone. And so you can start to make judgments after 4 games, because, like I said, that you're already 25% through the year. So wrapping up that Arizona game, hey, man, that was an awesome game, and it's time to start turning the page and start looking at Cleveland. We're going to talk a little bit about Cleveland here as we go on to the next segment, the game. But, of course, we're going to talk a lot about Jayden Daniels here, and we're going to compare him to some other rookies. I've got a little pop quiz for you all that we're going to do here in the game. So stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to episode 193 of Ref the District here on Facebook and YouTube. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. If you are not a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button. As I said earlier, when a lot of you all were not here yet, and we again appreciate everybody who's been here, that we found out that in the YouTube algorithm, if you all who are already subscribers are hitting that like button and watching the video, that's what gets the video sent out a whole lot more. So make sure you all hit that like button. We appreciate all of you, and everybody's here. Again, we talked about Lockdown Laws here. Trey, Rogers in the house, JG, Hermit Rob, Brian, Uptown Dre's in here. Of course, Gus is here. Hadn't seen Gus. I don't know how to say this this particular handle. Luis. No, Luis. Gotcha. Luis is in the house as well. Appreciate everybody who is here. We saw a few others that we haven't mentioned. Robert Parrish is here. Tommy T, of course, in the house, and Mike. Appreciate everybody who is here. This segment, the game segment, is brought to you by Don't Sleep Energy. Need to get hyped for the game? Grab a Don't Sleep Energy shot. Or if you need to stay ready Sunday for the Commanders game, grab a 12-ounce can of regular or sugar-free. You can get any of them now at don'tsleepenergy.com. Use the promo code DISTRICT, and you'll get 10% off, and you'll be supporting a great local DMV company. Don't sleep makes you great. All right, Trev.
Yeah.
What I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about Jayden Daniels here as he gets prepared to go up against the Cleveland Browns. And I want to hear from a lot of people. So we're going to put this graphic up here, Trev.
Okay.
And I'm going to read off the graphic for those who are listening. And for those, of course, who are watching, you can read along as I talk about this. Let me throw it up right now. Okay. Here are some QB comps through their first 4 games of their career. So I got 4 of them on here, right? And I want one of them is obviously Jayden Daniels, of course. I'm going to put Jayden Daniels in there, and I'll even give it away to you already because you can probably figure it out simply based on completion percentage. QB on the bottom left, that's Jayden Daniels. Yeah. He's 87 for 106 for 82%.
Yeah, it is.
897 yards passing with 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. He's been sacked 9 times in 4 games. Not bad. He has 8.5 yards per air attempt. Okay, so whether or not he's getting the ball downfield. He's rushed the ball 46 times for 218 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he has not lost a fumble. So I want you to look at these other quarterbacks. And quarterback A is 86 for 124, which is about the same number of completions, but a lot more attempts, more yards, 4 touchdowns and 1 pick, only 9 sacks. 41 rushes for 232 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 fumble loss. Very similar to Jayden Daniels at QB B. All right. QBC, 94 out of 150. It's only 62.7%, but that's 150 attempts in 4 games, 4 touchdowns, 5 picks, sacked 24 times, 11 rushes for 82 yards. And then QB, it says QBA down in the bottom right. It's supposed to say QBD. 94 for 151, very similar to QBC, but a lot more yards and more touchdowns and 0 interceptions and sacked only 11 times. 14 rushes for only 52 yards, so not necessarily a running quarterback. So QBA in the upper left-hand corner, do you have any idea who that might be? We know QBB is Jayden Daniels. Any idea who QBA might be?
Carson Wentz.
Incorrect. Look at the rushing yards. 41 rush. I guess Carson Wentz early on, he ran a lot. So you're right. These are a lot of good.
Taylor Heineke.
A lot of good guesses here. As Gus said, I get that bottom right should be QBD. I thought I fixed it, but apparently not.
Are these quarterbacks in the NFL or Washington quarterback?
These are in the NFL.
Oh, okay. I'm sitting here guessing Washington quarterback. Okay. Oh, well, geez.
Here's some guesses. But I'm just going to say right now, none of these are correct so far.
Baker Mayfield?
It is not Baker Mayfield. I got one correct here for you. You ready?
Yes.
TJ nailed quarterback A.
RG3.
That is Robert Griffin III's first 4 games for Washington. He had more yards, about the same amount of touchdowns and interceptions and sacks, and rushed for more yards. Think about that for a second. And we're going to talk about that after this graphic. We're going to talk about the comparison between Robert and Jayden Daniels. Because right now, on basic stats that I'm showing you, RG3 had a better start than Jayden Daniels is having right now.
He's had a better passing start.
Yeah, and rushing start.
Well, he had completion percentage is way better, but the yards are better for RG3, percentage-wise, not. Okay.
All right, so just think about that. Think about how hyped we were after 4 games with RG3, rightfully so. He was playing out of his mind as well, right?
Yes.
So, QBC, you actually mentioned it earlier, Trev.
I did?
Yes, you did. And
Sam
probably the sacks give it away.
Sam
Howell is QBC.
Look at that.
After 4 games, his completion percentage was pretty low. And he had 4 touchdowns, but he had 5 picks, and 4 of those were in that 3rd game against Buffalo. Remember, he had 4 picks against Buffalo. And he was sacked 24 times.
Jeez,
and pretty decent rushing numbers. The 7.5 yards per carry, which is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So that was last year when we were getting kind of excited about Sam Howell. And then QBD. Anybody want to guess who QBD is? It says QBA, but it's the bottom right. This is a guy, I'm going to tell you this. This is from his stats from last year in his first 4 games.
Oh, from last year?
Last year.
For us?
For in the NFL last year.
Is it Stroud?
CJ Stroud. Brian nailed it. Gus was all over it. CJ Stroud's numbers last year, his first 4 games, where his completion percentage was way down. His yards were ridiculous, 1,200 yards. And his 6 touchdowns and no picks. And of course, he's not a running type quarterback, but he did have 52 yards running. The whole point of this is to kind of compare, because we tend to forget, right? We tend to forget about 2012 and RG3 and how hyped we were for RG3 in 2012 and the stats that he had, right? But Trev, I gotta know, why is this different than 2012 with Robert Griffin III when I just showed you Robert Griffin's stats were actually better than Jayden Daniels?
Because we're 3-1.
2-2 in 2012.
It's not 3-1.
No, it's not. 2-2.
First place in the NFC East at that time at 2-2.
Yeah, I have no idea. What.
Probably not. It
but
feels,
I mean,
yeah, it does feel different. But like, I know we were hyped, but it's because the dark cloud is gone. I think is the main difference. I'm not going to say his name. We thought, and I think people viewed RG3 as, like you said, the savior of this franchise, because our front office was cruddy, but they were smart enough to draft him number 2, and he's going to come and change the narrative. Yeah, we have a crappy front office, but our players on the field are going to change the narrative. We're going to win games. We're going to be relevant again, yada, yada, yada. This year, it's brand new. And I hate to keep bringing it up, but it's literally what it is. It's brand new, and we trusted them to do the right thing at the number 2 pick, and they did it, and it's paying off. We're 3-1, first place division. I think that's the main difference, because we actually believed in the front office to execute the job, and they did.
Yeah. Well, and I all of that is fair. What has been going on, but I think the biggest difference, and I'm trying to stick to the 4 games, only the 4 games, rather than what Robert did for the rest of the year, because we also know that they were 2-2, but at some point they ended up at 3-6, so they went 1-4 in their next 5 games. Mike Shanahan said, "All right, the rest of the year we're just going to evaluate everybody for the next year." Mm-hmm. And then they decided to change the offense and decided to do the read option, right? And they just started running Robert over and over and over again, and that's when they started winning. He and Alfred Morris basically took over. So I think that's the difference, is because Robert was not running a pro-style offense, and Jayden Daniels is running a pro-style offense, and he's executing properly, and he's making reads. And we've seen a lot of stuff out there that people are saying Jayden Daniels is a 1-read quarterback. I don't know if you've seen that kind of going around, right?
Bro, I saw that clip. They look like they have no idea what they're talking about.
They don't. That would be like us making a whole statement about Caleb Williams or something.
Yeah,
we don't watch enough of Caleb Williams. We can just sort of make our opinions on how he's doing, but they're saying that Robert Griffin III was a 1-read quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what he did. He either threw it to the first guy or he ran with the ball. Yep. He never went through progressions, and that's the whole difference with Jayden Daniels. And again, that Dan Orlovsky clip, right? If you watch that Orlovsky clip, and you will see that no huddle that they ran all the way down the field with all different kinds of personnel formations and such. So I think really that's the biggest difference between now and Robert Griffin III. And I'm not trying to say that we always have to compare Jayden Daniels to Robert Griffin III. But I'm just trying to show that in 2012, we were hyped for a quarterback. And if you just look at the basic stats, he had better stats than Jayden Daniels does have after these 4 games. And we're ready to anoint Jayden Daniels as the savior of this franchise at this point, based on what he's been doing. So just kind of keep that in mind, that we do have to wait and let this whole season play out. Although it's fun to simply jump on the Jayden Daniels bandwagon.
So much fun.
Trev, I got some stuff here on Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels has had 19 incompletions.
He's had 23 scoring drives.
And 23 scoring drives. That's an insane stat that I never thought I would ever.
That's just wild.
Ever seen before in my entire adult life of how well he's playing. Because the things that he's doing, as we talked about, he's throwing deep, he's throwing short, he's throwing intermediate, he's throwing guys open, he's throwing timing routes, he's throwing the bubble screens, he's running when he needs to, he's sliding when he needs to. I haven't found anything yet in the 4 games that he's doing wrong. Trev, do you know of anything that he might be doing wrong?
I saw in the first couple games he was hesitant to pull the trigger and let the ball rip. He had some people running wide open and he was afraid to throw it. But ever since then, he's shown he doesn't do that much anymore.
Yeah.
No, I don't. And I'm not just saying that. Like, for real, like, I don't see anything he's doing wrong or to make you be like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Not again. Not again.
Right.
Here we go. No. It's like, oh, he got out of that sack? Okay.
Right.
Oh, he made that. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he slid? Okay. That's what he's making us do. So, no, I don't. No. Nothing.
His 82.1% completion percentage in his first 4 games is the highest ever for any quarterback in their first 4 games in the history of the NFL. The 82.1%.
And hasn't won a thing.
Yeah. And he's not throwing sideways passes.
No, he's not dinking and dunking.
He has a 73.4 QBR, which is 4th in the NFC right now as a rookie. I'm just trying to get some of these stats out of the way, which are crazy. Fewest punts this season, Trev. Washington has the fewest punts. Tress Way has punted the ball 4 times in 4 games. 4. The next,
and it's crazy because he changed his number and everything. It was a big to-do, and we don't even get to see it on him.
Right. I'm not joking. I don't know what number Tress Way is.
Number 10.
He is number 10? Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that a cursed number in Washington? Wasn't everybody saying that everybody who wears number 10 is cursed?
Oh, I don't know.
No?
I don't remember.
I thought that was a thing there for a while, that everybody
might have been.
Yeah, okay. The second least punts are the 49ers, and they have 9. They have more than double what Washington has.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Let's see. The Commanders are one of 3 teams with a 4th down conversion rate of 100%. They're 100% on their 4th down conversion rates. Now, it's only been 3, but nobody else has done that.
Nope.
They're 3 for 3 on 4th downs.
Wow.
Jayden Daniels against Arizona, when he was under pressure, he dropped back 13 times, and when he was pressured on those 13 times he dropped back, he was 10 for 10 for 96 yards and a touchdown. The other 3 times he scrambled, and he got 5 first downs on those 13 dropbacks, and it was not sacked once when he was pressured. Pressure to sack ratio, Remember that whole thing we talked about?
Oh yeah, Nathan was really super worried about that.
Forget about it.
Forget
about it. He had an 82.7 PFF, which was the third highest on the team. By the way, the top two on the team were Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner, your two linebackers. Let's see. Couple of other things here. I'm trying to get through all of these stats for Jayden Daniels and what he's been doing. Just think about these stats so far through the first 4 weeks. The 82.1% completion percentage. He's averaging 224 yards passing per game. He has either thrown or run for 45 first downs. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns. I don't know, Trev. I can't.
It's nice, isn't it?
I can't find anything wrong yet of what.
No.
He's got 218 rushing yards, which is he's running it at a 4.5 yards plus per carry average. Let's see. The quarterbacks with the most plays run with only 1 to 4 yards to go for a first down. So meaning they have easily convertible second and third downs. Jayden Daniels has the most or has the second most behind only Caleb Williams. And Brock Purdy is third.
Okay.
Whew.
I mean, this dude he's a magician.
And then we talk all about these incredible stats that Jayden Daniels is putting up. But we also have to offensively, we also have to give credit where credit is due. We didn't even mention Zaccheaus, another newcomer, and what he's been doing.
Right. Yes.
I think Zaccheaus has I don't have the stat in front of me, but he has like 10 catches for 140 something yards. And the guy who basically he didn't get traded for him, but Jahan Dotson went to Philly. Zaccheaus went from Philly to here. He has 5 catches. Jahan Dotson does since he got to Philadelphia in those 4 games. Whew, let's see. A couple other things. And like I said, we have to give credit where it's due to the offensive line. Yeah. Because the offensive line was something that was a huge concern for all of us, including me. Right?
Oh, for sure.
The highest graded pass blockers in the entire league last week, Cornelius Lucas was 3rd, Brandon Coleman was 4th, Andrew Wiley was 5th. Just last week. Your offensive linemen are playing extremely well. And we talked about how if you do have a weakness, and I think the offensive line is still a little bit of a weakness, you have to cover it up with proper schemes, proper game planning, and a quarterback that can get you out of tough situations. Yeah. And that's what they're doing with Cliff Kingsbury, who has been scheming up these plays so that the offensive line can excel and do what they do best, which is number 1, they run block very well. Yeah. And then number 2, of course, is the quick hitters that Jayden Daniels has had, but he had plenty of plays where he was dropping back and standing back on 5-step drops and had plenty of time. Yep. The offensive line has played very well.
No grass stains on the jersey.
Maybe on his pants when he slid a couple of times. He had to do that.
Maybe.
Let's see. Terry McLaurin has the most contested catches, which he usually does. And he has the most this year so far with 7. Let's see. And Washington has scored on 68% of their drives. 68% of the time, they're going to get points. Almost 3 out of every 4 drives, they're going to get points. That's the highest in the NFL in at least 25 years. But, Trev, we've got a game on Sunday
against
the Cleveland Browns. And if you look over there on your left, but on the viewer's right, and you see a picture of Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
And the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
Wait, before we get to the Cleveland Browns, I do want to address this one thing, and maybe it'll be quick. Where do you stand on trading for Davante Adams?
Do it.
I'm gonna just squeak that in here and probably rile up a bunch of people.
Do it. Be aggressive. Take a shot.
Why would you do it? Why would you do it?
Don't get me wrong. Our receiver room is playing great, but they're not fearing anybody. Nobody's scared of them. We haven't played that many good teams so far. I think the best defensive team we played is Cincinnati. It's Davante Adams. He'll make your room better, make your team better. Like, you got Terry and Davante as your 1 and 2. Oh my gosh! And you can keep Luke in there. You can bring Noah Brown in there too. You can bring Diami in there too. It's Cliff's offense. He's got players for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah. Why not make a splash? If you don't, I won't be upset. But do it. I think you should go for it. Why not? Kick the tires. See what's going on. We got cap room. You know, he raved about Jayden and his performance, about how they wanted him to slide down so the Raiders could pick him. He was a part of the Raiders in last year's draft. Yeah, just do it. And I see Locked On Law saying Davante would take targets from Terry. That's fine. Spread the love. I don't think he would take targets from Terry. I just think he would help Terry's game, to be honest. Because right now if we don't have Terry, let's be honest, if we don't have Terry, our wide receiver room is not. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So why not? Just try it.
PE says leave that to the GM and our football guys. Yeah, we get that, but this is what we do. We speculate. Yeah. We give opinions. So we're just giving our opinions on this. And I don't think it's definitely not going to happen. No. The only reason it was sort of thrown out there as speculation is because people are saying, well, that would be a logical place for Davante Adams to go, would be to Washington, because we don't have a strong wide receiver room. And look, we don't have a strong wide receiver room at this point.
Okay. We don't.
But it's even been reported now, whereas before it was speculation, it's been reported at this point that the Commanders are not in the mix.
Right.
That it's basically either going to be the Jets or the Saints. So we'll see what happens. He's never going to play for the Raiders again. He has a hamstring injury, and so he's out for this Sunday, but he might get traded anytime. I struggled with this one in the same way that I struggled with Brandon Ayuk in trading for Brandon Ayuk earlier. Does Davante Adams make your team better? I mean, there's no doubt that Davante Adams, even at 31 years old, makes your team better. He's a dude, right? He is a difference maker, even at 31 years old. And for that reason, I'm like you, Trev. I'm like, why not? Why not go for it and go get a guy like that to improve your team? However, I will say that thinking about it, what I don't want, this is the biggest thing that I don't want. What I don't want is for Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and all their decision makers. What's the guy's name from Detroit that came over? Who's like Adam Peters' right-hand guy?
Newman?
Yeah, Newman.
Yes, Newman, something like that.
What they have obviously put together a plan. Right? They have a detailed, laid out plan, and it's not a 1-year plan. It's probably a 5-year, 7-year plan. And they've decided this is how they're going to do it. They're going to build this team a certain way. They're not going to sign expensive free agents. They're going to build through the draft. They're going to bring in character guys like they have. And if that's the case, we don't know for sure. We're not inside there in the rooms talking to them and seeing what they're planning on doing. If that's the case, I don't want them to deviate from that plan. Just because all of a sudden you're 3-1 now, and you're looking dangerous, and now you're going to go out and put all of those plans that you had and put it aside and go get a guy like Davante Adams. I'm not saying that that's what their plan is, but if that's their plan, I don't want them deviating from their plan because their plan so far is working. And so why throw that out the window? And that reminds me of 2020 when Ron Rivera came in here and he said, we're going to build and build and build this team, right, in 2020. And then they were at the time, I think they were like 3-6, but they were in first place in the division. Remember that? Because the division was so bad. And then he changed his whole approach and decided that they're going for it. They're going for the division because the division was so bad. That's what I don't want. I just don't want the head guy to have this whole plan that he put in place and then just push it all aside only because all of a sudden they're 3-1 and leading the division at the quarter pole. That's why I don't want them to do it. If that's their plan. Their plan, Trev, could actually be if we're in the hunt before the trade deadline, let's go get somebody to help our team win.
And I think that just might happen. Might not be Davante, but there's other receivers out there I saw that could be potentially trade targets for us at the trade deadline. So I expect us to make a move.
You expect Washington to make a move to help them towards a playoff push?
Yeah, our defense can't. We can't sustain. We can't. No, we need more help. Okay.
All right. Well, let's. I just wanted to kind of touch on that Davante Adams, just because there's news out there, and it's kind of fun to speculate. We're not saying that if they don't do it, then we're going to be ticked off on the Davante Adams front, or anybody for that matter. Like you said, even defensively at this point. But it's just kind of interesting to talk about and speculate. Brandon Ayuk was the hot topic for a while, and then now, of course, Davante Adams. And hey, maybe Cleveland will make Myles Garrett available. What would you give up for Myles Garrett?
Jonathan Allen and Devon Payne.
And 3 future ones.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Cleveland, Trev. The Cleveland Browns at 8:45. We're gonna have.
Did you mean to do that?
What?
The howling noise. Did you mean to do that?
No. Oh, no. I must have hit a button over here. I was moving my papers. That's the old Sam Howell. That one right there.
Yeah.
My bad. All right, let's talk about Cleveland though, Trev. Let's talk about what is in front of Washington. Let's not forget this team was an 11-win team last year and went to the playoffs. Yeah. Basically the same team. Of course, I think Flacco was actually leading them into the playoffs and not Deshaun Watson, right? But week 1 versus the Cowboys, they lost 33-17 to the Dallas Cowboys. They gave up 33 points to this Cowboys offense that it hasn't been exactly stellar.
Right.
And in that game, Deshaun Watson was 24 of 45.
That's a lot of
for
passing.
169 yards. He brought back 45 times for 169 yards through 2 picks. His QBR, Trev, 7.6. He was sacked 6 times. Just a dreadful offensive performance against Dallas in week 1.
Yeah.
They had 11 penalties. They were down 20-3 in the first half, and they had 1 first down the entire first half against that Dallas defense. So offensively, they got whooped in week 1. Now they've scored in their 4 games, Trev.
Yep.
17 points versus the Cowboys, 18 points against Jacksonville, 15 points to the Giants, and 16 points to the Raiders last week.
Yeah.
So let's not forget Jameis Winston is their backup. And as Lockdown says, he might end up seeing the bench. Deshaun, I don't think you can do that when you got $240 million or whatever it is that he's making.
Mm-hmm.
What are your first impressions when you think about Cleveland this year, a 1-3 football team who's averaging 16 point, where is the number? Browns offense, 16.5 points per game. What do you think about Cleveland when you first think about them this year?
They're fraud. They look better on paper. They look better on paper than they do on the field. There's a disconnect there somewhere. Somebody's losing their job if this keeps going this way, even midseason or after the season, whether it be Stefanski, whether they – I know it's a lot of money, but it's the business. They could trade Deshaun. I'm not saying they will. Don't trash me in the comments, please. But I know it's a lot of money invested to it, but anything's possible.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper's already been floating around as a possible trade target before the trade deadline. Nick Chubb, they don't have a running game. I mean, they do, but it's by committee. Nick Chubb is just now starting to be able to practice again.
Yep.
Deshaun Watson looks like he is trying to figure out how to be Deshaun Watson again. He just came out saying he's not a running back. That's why he doesn't run with his legs. But pretty sure that was who you were at Clemson and in Houston. In order for Dabo Swinney to call you a Michael Jordan of NFL, you were running the ball with your legs, bro. You were a magician.
Well, he's not a throwing quarterback either because he hasn't even thrown for 200 yards in a game this year.
Yeah, so it's some kind of dysfunction over there. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the offensive coordinator over there. I don't know if it's a new system or not or whatever, but something just ain't clicking, and it's taking 4 games, and they can't score 20 points.
Yeah.
Something's wrong.
Kevin Stefanski is an offensive guy, and he was coach of the year a couple years back. Maybe it was it last year? Maybe it was.
No, I think Dayball was last year.
But yeah, it's crazy what's going on with this offense when you think that they have Amari Cooper, they have Jerry Jeudy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now he hasn't really done a whole lot. He's already on his second team, but he's very talented. They have David Njoku, the tight end. Of course, he's been hurt.
Stay healthy. Yeah,
right?
He can't stay healthy.
But of course Nick Chubb, who hasn't played yet, but still. And then you've got Deshaun Watson, a $250 million quarterback, who before this whole incident that happened off the field was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. He was a legit top 5 quarterback when he was in Houston before everything went wrong. Trev, offensively, the Browns are 31st in total offense.
That's
31st.
Awful.
They are 29th in passing, 26th in rushing, and 27th in points per game.
I mean, I know what it's like. We were just there last year. So.
Right. And then, but Washington's defense is 27th in total defense. So they're towards the bottom of the league. They're 22nd against the pass, 23rd against the run, and they're 25th in points per game. So what you've got is you've got a putrid offense against a putrid defense at this point after 4 games. Which one of those is going to break out? It is a big question. But they've gone up against the Cowboys defense, Jacksonville's defense, the New York Giants defense, and the Raiders defense, and can only average 16 points per game. They haven't even gotten to 20 yet.
And the Raiders defense is probably the scariest out of all. And they were missing Max Crosby, and they were missing on offense Davante Adams, and then I think the tight end Michael Mayer. So they were missing. They're not all defense, but they were missing key guys.
Sure.
Max Crosby is a beast, and they still couldn't even put up 20 against the Gardner Minshew-led Raiders.
16 points against them, where Watson threw for 176 yards. And
playing backyard football, literally.
It's mind-blowing to me when you have an offensive coach. And again, we're going to talk to Spencer Graham here in just a little bit about
Spencer German.
Did I say Graham again?
Yeah.
Spencer German of the Dog Check show on the Believe Network here in just a few minutes, and sort of get some insight into the Browns and what the heck's going on there. Let's flip sides, okay? The Browns defense, Trev, they're 11th in total defense.
Wow.
They're only giving up 299 yards per game total. They're 10th in passing defense. Think Denzel Ward, right? They are 19th in rush defense. Think, of course, Myles Garrett and JOK over there, right?
Okay.
And they're 17th in points. So they're middle of the pack, giving up 21.8 points per game. Now, of course, Washington's offense is 6th in total yards at 382 yards per game. They're 12th in passing. They are 3rd in rushing. Where the Browns defense, of course, is 19th against the rush. So that's where they can be had. And, of course, Washington's offense is 3rd in the league, averaging 30 points per game. This defense for Cleveland looks pretty good on paper. The defenses they've faced outside of the Cowboys, the offenses they've faced, Jaguars, terrible. They're 0-4. The Giants, terrible offense. And the Raiders, you just mentioned, who were missing Davante Adams and Michael Mayer, and their quarterback is a guy by the name of Gardner Minshew, right? So their defense is played pretty well. Myles Garrett has 4 sacks in 4 games. However, they're playing some putrid offenses. They haven't seen anything like this Washington offense.
So it's kind of the same. We haven't seen too many crazy defenses outside of Cincinnati, but we're 3-1, and they haven't seen explosive offenses like us, and they're 1-3. I saw on the report today, Myles Garrett did not practice because of an Achilles injury. That's huge. Don't know how serious it is, but if you see the word Achilles, you think it's something serious. So keep an eye on that. Nick Chubb, just like I said, just opened up his 21-day practice window.
You think he's going to play?
No, he's not ready.
No? Okay.
He wasn't even in pads today. He just had his jersey and helmet on, doing some rubber band work and stuff on the side. So I think maybe next week, whoever they play, they'll be ready, but not this week for us. And Njoku has an ankle issue. He's limited in practice.
Yep.
He's missed the last 2 games, I think. He might play on Sunday. Depends on, I guess, tomorrow's injury report is the big one. So, like you said, they look scary on paper. They had a really good defense last year, and that was their story. They're supposed to come into the season with the same kind of scary defense.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't seen scary offenses yet. So their defense can look scary when you're playing a weak offensive team, and vice versa. If you're playing a weak defensive team, your offense will look great. But for us, we look great, but not just because the defense is bad. It's we just keep going. We keep improving. We're scoring more points each week, scoring touchdowns. We're executing complicated plays, complex plays. So our offense is still growing, and then their defense is kind of a holdover from last season. So should be interesting. We should come out with a dub, but
a couple other nuggets here. The Browns have the most expensive roster in the NFL, believe it or not.
See, that's what I mean.
Right.
On paper.
Yeah. They have the 3rd most pass attempts so far through the first 4 games. And yet he still hasn't thrown for 200 yards in a game at all this year.
That's wild.
Like you said about Njoku, he's already missed the last 3 games. And he's questionable that he's going to play this week. Their offensive line is just decimated with injuries. Last week, they played without 3 of their starters, and a 4th, their center, left the game twice for injuries during the course of the game. So they're basically without 4 of their starting offensive linemen. That's hard to win with that. And, of course, being without Chubb and being without Njoku. That's all part of it. But still, a special quarterback can overcome those sorts of things. And obviously Deshaun is not. Did you see how Elijah Moore's dad is calling out the Browns over a lack of targets for Elijah Moore?
See, I didn't even know he was there.
Right. He got traded because he wanted out of the Jets last year, even though the Jets were doing pretty well. But he ended up, complaining his way out of New York. And now, of course, he's in Cleveland. So I guess his dad said something or put something out on social media saying that, hey, why is my son is always open? I don't know. It's not that specific, but, Elijah Moore is always open. Why isn't he getting more targets? And
look, you're not OBJ, bro. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit dysfunctional over there in Cleveland, but we're going to talk all about it here in the cool down. We're going to have Spencer German from the Believe podcast called The Dog Check here in just a little bit in the cool down, but I'm going to do a little bit here to set it all up, and then we'll come back and talk all about that. Hang on one second. Do this right there. We've got Cleveland Browns coming into Washington to play the 3-1 Commanders, coming off of their big win in Arizona. We've got Spencer German from the Believe podcast called The Dog Check here on Ref the District. Let's go. All right, let's bring in Spencer German. Spencer German from the Believe podcast called The Dog Check. I want to make sure I get all of that right. Spencer, we're going to put you in the hot seat here. We appreciate you coming on here and talking to us here on Ref the District.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm excited about it and looking forward to, well, I hope we get a good game on Sunday. We'll have to see.
Well, we got a lot of questions because we've just been talking for the last about 15 minutes, kind of talking all about what we see on paper. Of course, we're not inside on what's going on there in Cleveland, but we've got a lot of questions. I think my first question, my biggest question is, how is it that you have a team that was a playoff team, a double-digit win team, with an offensive-minded head coach, and who's won Coach of the Year before? How is it this team has won one game this year and their quarterback, Deshaun Watson, hasn't thrown for 200 yards in a game this year, despite the fact that they've had the third most attempts in the league this year? What the heck is going on with this offense in Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you asked that because I do think Browns fans are sort of shell-shocked, thinking a lot of the same things. This is a team that obviously has high expectations given how last year went, and they did that last year. They accomplished that last year with 5 different quarterbacks, including, I'm sure as you guys are well aware, like Joe Flacco coming in at the end of the season and leading them to the playoffs and the whole special moment that was. And so you come in this year and you're supposed to now have stability at the quarterback position. Deshaun Watson's finally healthy. The offense is built around him, and it just hasn't gone the way that people thought it would. So it is a great question. I think there's a number of factors in play here. I think, first of all, the offensive line has been awful this year. And that's honestly like the first thing I point out with this offense. I know people want to point at Deshaun, but I actually think the offensive line has been the biggest problem for this offense so far to this point in the season. I don't know if it's just that they aged really quickly and they're just not as good as they once were, or if it's the effects of losing arguably the greatest offensive line coach in the game in Bill Callahan this offseason, and you bring in Andy Dickerson, who, listen, I think all due respect to Andy Dickerson, I know he's highly regarded around the league as well, but obviously he's not Bill Callahan. And so I don't know if that change has kind of impacted things. It doesn't help that there's been a lot of injuries up front again this year, but I think the problems really start there. They haven't been able to generate much of a push. The run game hasn't been able to get going in certain instances because of that. I also think they've abandoned the run kind of early because of that. And I think some of that revolves around the offense is built around Deshaun anyway. But I think that's problem number one. And then I do think I think Deshaun is part of this. Like it would be silly of me not to at least point out the fact that he's had his fair share of struggles and missteps and maybe hasn't performed to the level that he's expected to. I do think this past weekend, if you have a chance to go back and watch any of the game tape from the Raiders game, I don't put that loss on him. I think from start to finish, he actually played probably one of his best 2 games from first quarter to fourth quarter in a Browns uniform last week. And if that touchdown to Amari Cooper, that was like 82 yards and it got called back on a holding, I'm sure you guys saw the clip of that. If that doesn't get called back, he throws for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. If Amari doesn't have a ball deflect off his chest that he drops, he doesn't have an interception thrown in there. And it's funny, like the 200-yard thing is something that Browns fans point to a lot too. That's like the biggest complaint they have is that he doesn't throw for 200 yards. So I actually think he's coming off of a really good game, which maybe sets the tone for him to replicate that here against Washington. We'll see. But there are still some shortcomings that have sort of reared their ugly head in the previous 3 weeks that still tell you like he's not quite back to being the guy that he was in Houston. I think this past week was the first time we saw any sort of semblance of that in a while. I know that was a very long-winded answer, but
no, that's great.
No, you're good. Amari Cooper keeps coming up in trade rumors either now or at the deadline. What's going on with that? Why is he a target to be traded?
Yeah, so this all kind of stems from in the offseason, the Browns had an opportunity to extend Amari. He's going into the last year of his deal, didn't have a lot of money guaranteed, and he was seeking an extension. Obviously, as all these other big-name receivers were getting paid, he was kind of like, hey, I want one more payday too as I'm about to turn 30. He turned 30 in June. So it stems from that, and I kind of was of the belief that they'd get something ironed out. They'd find some sort of maybe short-term extension, like 3 years maybe, and it'd be water under the bridge. But then this thing lingered a little bit longer. He didn't show up to veteran mini camp and skipped that portion of the team's kind of off-season program. And then on the eve, I think it was at training camp, there was this report that they finally kind of ironed some things out. And all they did was guarantee all his money for this year. So they gave him guarantees for this year, but nothing beyond 2024. And so I think it started there where you kind of felt like Amari was maybe slighted a little bit by the organization. And then at the end of training camp, his name popped up in trade rumors, as you allude to, with Brandon Ayuk when the 49ers are still sort of figuring some things out with him. And I think that's maybe, I don't want to say the nail in the coffin because he's still here and he's still, I think, trying to play at a high level. But I do think like almost like two strikes, right? Like they tell you one time, we're not going to extend you. And then they say, hey, we're floating your name out in trade rumors. I can understand from a human level why you maybe feel like you're a little slighted here. And so I think that because they didn't commit to him long-term, there's this kind of this belief that they're not necessarily going to extend in this offseason and keep him around. And if the right trade package were to kind of, materialize, maybe they pursue something. And I think part of this too has to do with just his play to this point. He's been brutal. He leads the league in drops. He has 8 of them this year. One of them was that one this past week against the Raiders that deflected off of his hands and was an interception. And just a bad play. So like there's some problems there. And I think that's kind of it's on both fronts. I think part of it is Amari's a little bit, Amari's always the kind of player who's going to show up and work hard. But I do think not getting that commitment from the Browns, he's a little bit like half in, half out. And then I think on top of that, the Browns were kind of preparing themselves for life without Amari Cooper already. So I think all that is like this has created this perfect storm of, hey, if the right package comes along, maybe we will trade Amari Cooper.
So let's kind of go back a little bit to Deshaun here just for a second.
Yeah.
And his play, which, as you said, he seems to be getting a little bit better, at least this last game. Is there any sort of concern that with Jameis back there as his backup that there's a chance that they just kind of move on, say, okay, we just can't do this anymore. Let's see what Jameis can – see if he can salvage the season for us.
If you ask the fans that, the answer is 100% yes. Because
everybody loves the backup quarterback.
There's fans, and especially in Cleveland where it's been just a rotating cast of backups since the team came back in 99. Right. Anytime they drafted a quarterback, that was the guy they wanted to see. So 2 weeks ago, the fan base was probably ready for Jameis Winston, quite honestly. But from an organization standpoint, I just think they've because of the contract, they've dug their feet in the sand on this one. I don't know that there's an easy way out. I actually was kind of surprised that I guess not surprised because it is the way they do business. They love to kick the can down the road with these contracts and just move money. So it's in voided years and all this different stuff. And they did that with Deshaun again this year, right before the season started. And I guess the reason I said I was kind of surprised was because I actually thought this would be the year they'd eat, it would have been his cap, it would have been $63 million for this year. And I thought they were just going to eat it so that they could get some of that money off the books and create at least a little more flexibility in the last 2 years of this deal. But then they renegotiated it, and now you're sort of tied to, I want to say there's upwards of like 90 plus. There might be over $100 million still committed to him over the last 2 years just because of the voided years that they created. And so they're kind of in a hole. Like I just, until the last year of this deal where maybe you could do like a Russell Wilson, just, move on and bite the bullet. Yeah. I think they're sort of just stuck with him. So they'll continue to preach that they're riding it out and that they believe in Deshaun. And I mean, I guess if he played so poor late in the season that you really had to make a change, they would. But I don't think that. I think we're a long, long way away from that because they've shown and sort of with their actions proven that they're super committed to Deshaun at this point.
That's a lot, man.
It's crazy.
That's a huge headache. That's a huge headache. I know, Spencer, it's only been 4 games, but do the Cleveland Browns have an identity yet? Or are they still trying to figure that out?
I'm going to say no. I think that's honestly the big question that this team still faces going into week 4 of the season. And I think it is alarming that they haven't sort of figured that out to this point, particularly on offense. Defense, well, and their defense has some issues too. Like last week, the Raiders were the ranked last in the league in terms of total rushing yards. They had 153 yards on the season coming into that game, and they had 152 yards in the game against the Browns. So they basically doubled their yards on the ground in one game against Cleveland. So they're having some issues stopping the run. But at any moment, like Jim Schwartz's group can kind of come alive and start making better plays. A lot of it was missed tackles. Guys just got to make the plays. But you still sort of feel like there's at least an identity because of how good they were last year with this defense. It's the offense that's the bigger concern because the identity was supposed to be, we're building this thing around Deshaun. We're gonna pass the ball a lot. Nick Chubb, who just came back to practice this week but isn't expected to play this weekend. I've kind of been talking to people about, like, even when he's back, what does this offense look like? Because they built it around Deshaun. They didn't build it to run the football with Nick Chubb 20 plus times. So I'm kind of skeptical of what that looks like. But and it's funny because when they have had success running the football, that's when their offenses seem to be like the most efficient. It keeps Deshaun ahead of the sticks. It keeps the offense ahead of the sticks. They're able to do some better things. But at this point, like, we're in the same boat as you, where we're kind of going into this week 5, and we're asking that exact question: like, what is this team's identity at this point? Because the offense has just had so many issues, they don't have an answer for us.
I got bad news for you. Washington is 3rd in the league in rushing at 169 yards per game. So
that's not good. Yeah, not good for the Browns. At least it's good for you guys.
So Cleveland is coming in 1-3. Of course, Washington is really the talk of the league right now at 3-1 with Jayden Daniels and everything that he's doing. We're finally at that point, at least through 4 games, where we feel good about this team. But what do you sort of expect as you go in not feeling great about this team? And then, of course, Washington is feeling good. 2 road wins in a row, one on a Monday night where the offense is, I don't know if you've seen this stat. It's kind of all over there, but it's of course in Washington we see it. Jayden Daniels has 19 incompletions and he has 23 scoring drives. Yeah. So he has more scoring drives than he does incompletions. What is the feeling for the team now having to travel into Washington where Washington is playing so well?
Yeah, it's funny because when the schedule came out and as we got closer to the season, I think all of us in Cleveland kind of looked at it and said, all right, this early portion is where the Browns can stack some wins. I think that included, like, the Cowboys game was always going to be tough. Jaguars was kind of, okay, that could be tough because Jacksonville was they were a good team last year that missed the playoffs because they sort of fell apart at the end of the season. We've sort of seen now that they're not a very good team this year. But then on top of that, like, if you could come out of that 1-1, then you have the Giants, the Raiders, and the Commanders in 3 in a row, and it's like, oh man, like, get 3 wins, you're 4-1. Like, that's a good feeling. Yeah. But because of the play of Jayden Daniels, like you mentioned, and just how good this Washington offense has been, I have a completely different outlook on this game than I did even like 3 weeks ago, I think. I don't feel good about the prospects of going into Washington, having to play this team that's just playing so well right now, and Jayden Daniels is just lighting it up and having a terrific start to his career. There's an element of, like, I'm sure you guys probably understand this too. Like, I don't always trust Washington. So there's always like a chance they slip up a little bit and the Browns can kind of get one over on them. And there's also, like, the one thing I'll say, like, this Browns defense has the potential to be dominant, and the pass rush has the potential to like really disrupt things for Jayden if they can make his life difficult. Maybe that's like the great equalizer, like a Myles Garrett making some really good plays and pressuring him. Maybe that's the thing that makes makes it so that he can't just be as efficient as he's been. And then that keeps you in the game and gives you a chance. And the way that Deshaun played this past week, if they can sort of replicate that offensively, then I think they do have a chance to win most games that they're going to be playing in. So that's kind of the one saving grace that I fall back on. But yeah, like this game has completely gone from being like that's a win for the Browns. Admittedly, right. I was saying that a couple weeks ago. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this. And the prospect of being 1-4 after 5 weeks is a scary one.
Well, we looked at it kind of the opposite in that we said, well, Cleveland, even though it's going to be at home, they were a darn good team last year, and maybe Chubb will be back and Myles Garrett. We chalked it up pretty much as a loss. Now we're looking at it and say, if we lose this game, we're going to be a little bit embarrassed because we are on a roll and they're not. Sorry about that, Trev. I want to jump in.
No, you're good. How serious is Myles Garrett's Achilles injury? I saw he didn't practice today. Is that something to keep an eye on? Or
yeah, it's a good question because this has kind of been a compounding issue.
Sorry, Stoner did it again.
Why I hit the howl again? My bad.
Yes.
Was it the same one? It was the howl again.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
I thought we were getting like a scary movie or something in the background. That's funny. So this has kind of been a compounding issue for Myles since week 1. He's been dealing with it. Started as like a foot injury. And he even like admittedly in press conferences has said like, yeah, my foot's bothering me and it's something from my childhood. I had surgery on my feet and so whatever. And since then it's kind of compounded into like before last week's game, he was on the injury report as foot, a thigh injury and this Achilles issue. So because he's kind of overcompensating on it with his feet, it's kind of become other problems now as well. He's bound and determined because that's just the type of player that Myles Garrett is to play through it. But, and you guys will probably see this on Sunday, there will probably be stretches where he's off on the sideline, kind of attending to the injury. He misses some snaps. So that's a good thing for your guys' offense in that there might be some opportunities for them to take advantage of Myles not being out there and make some plays. But yeah, it's something to keep an eye on. We haven't sort of, there hasn't been like this red flag, like it's going to end his season necessarily, but anytime you see Achilles, that's always an alarming thing. I mean, I know there's plenty of examples from the NBA where guys had like an Achilles issue and they played on it and then it became a tear. And then so we've kind of asked a lot of those questions in the media, like, hey, how serious is this? Can he finish the season on it? And Myles' response is always, he's just taking it kind of week to week.
The comment section has been awfully quiet. Normally they have a bunch of questions lined up, but we've been just so kind of, like I said, over our head with everything that's going on with Jayden Daniels and this offense. And we're kind of chalking it up to a win here. So hopefully we don't get too crazy. But Spencer, my last question for you is give me a sort of prediction. I know it's still early in the week and we don't know injuries and all that, but give us your prediction on how you think this game is going to go and give me a score too.
Oh, man. So, yeah, like I said, a couple weeks ago, I probably would have favored the Browns. I think because the way that they're playing right now, I'm going to say the Commanders win. I know I'm letting all the Browns community down, but I can't go 3 weeks in a row trying to pick this team because they're not playing very good football right now. And I'll hope I'm pleasantly surprised. We'll put it that way. But I'll say Commanders win 24-20. Browns will get to 20 points for the first time this season, but I think the Commanders hold on 24-20. That's I slipped a positive in there for my Browns fans out there. They'll get to 20 points, but it's going to be a loss, unfortunately.
I think you're the first one of all these game previews that we've done that have actually picked Washington to win. Normally, you got to pick
playing good football. Man. They're playing good football.
That scares me, though. I don't like that. That scares me.
I'm reverse psychology.
Yeah.
Get it.
Word. I guess my last question is about Deshaun Watson again. Do you think lack of preseason play and his shoulder injury rehab situation is kind of hindering him in his poor offensive play, or like what is going on with Deshaun Watson?
I think there's probably something to that a little bit. It was hard because I understood at the time why they didn't play him in the preseason to an extent, because they had some injuries they were still sort of sorting out on the offensive line, and if he were to get hurt, then like you're sitting there pointing the finger at Stefanski, asking like, what the hell are you doing? Putting this guy out there in meaningless games. So I understand why they didn't play him, but I do think at least for the first like week, you saw a guy who was clearly still kind of getting comfortable with things. I think week 2, there were some better things, but then week 3 kind of compounded some more. I do wonder, like, if they had taken more reps in the preseason, if they would have, again, back to the question you asked earlier, if they'd have an identity by now, or they'd feel like they did something at least remotely better than they have to this point. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know that like solves everything with Deshaun and that he's just like coming out guns a-blazing if he plays in the preseason. But I do understand where like there's been questions about that because he didn't take any reps, and it's funny because like around the league there's just like different philosophies on this. I feel like every year we get more and more coaches who are like, I don't care to play my guys in the preseason. But then there's some teams who are like, I need the reps, I want to play. Yeah. So it's kind of a philosophical thing, like person to person, and I find that kind of interesting as well. But I don't know if I can take that solely away from this year. But I think I just kind of chalk it up to generally like not playing the preseason, coming off the shoulder injury, hasn't played great football since 2020 when he was with the Texans. I think it's kind of an assortment of things that have led to him getting off to a slow start.
All right, Spencer, we appreciate you coming by here on Ref the District. Tell our viewers and our listeners where we can find your work and all that you do for the Browns.
Yeah, so I obviously host, as you guys mentioned earlier, I host the Dog Check podcast here on the Believe Network. So you can find that as part of just their network of podcasts. I also cover the Browns for the Cleveland Browns on SI. Just if you type in Cleveland Browns SI or something along those lines, you'll find it. It's also, I guess, the official URL is like si.com/NFL/Browns. So you can find a bunch of my written work over there. I'm constantly, out there at the team facility, and pretty much, I try to stay in the know on everything. So that's where you can find most of my work. And I'm also on X at Spencito. I still say Twitter. I don't know why I changed it to X here. It's still Twitter. I mean, Twitter. Come on.
Yes.
But you can find me on Twitter at Spencito with a little underscore on the end. I appreciate this though, guys. This was fun.
Yep, absolutely. Appreciate you coming by here on Ref the District, and we look forward to what happens on Sunday. Cleveland at Washington, 1:05 p.m. here in I always want to say FedEx. It's Northwest Stadium here in the southeastern part of the country. So figure that out.
I will be. I'm actually coming. I'm coming to town for the game to cover it. So
nice.
I've never been to that stadium, and I too learned when I searched how long of a drive I had.
Yeah.
That it has a new name now. I was like, I didn't know that either. So.
Yeah. and where are you staying? Do you know where you're staying?
So I have family in Springfield, Virginia. So I'm staying with them, and it's my uncle, and he actually has season tickets. So. He's driving to the game in the morning. I'm driving to the game in the morning. So
okay, nice. Well, if the game starts at 1 o'clock, leave probably about 8 a.m.
I'm sure. Yeah, I know how traffic gets down there, so I'll do my best. But
it's crazy.
Awesome.
All right, Spencer. Appreciate you coming by, and may the best team win.
Yes, sir.
We'll see how it all shakes out. Best of luck to you guys.
All right,
thank you very much.
Yep, see you guys. Thanks.
All right, Trev, let's get back. We've got a couple of things left here to take care of before we head on out for this particular week. Let me put that in there. Let's talk about this game. Trev, what does Washington have to do to beat Cleveland? And we got to ask everybody in the comments ahead of time already, what does everybody think needs to happen for Washington to win on Sunday?
You got to run the ball.
Okay.
Keep pounding the rock.
Yep.
And you also don't get too high on yourself.
Okay.
You're 3-1.
Stay humble.
This is still Deshaun Watson. This is still Amari Cooper. This is still Myles Garrett, injured or not. Still Denzel Ward. Like, this is still the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, they're 1-3. It's early part of the season. Stranger things have happened. Look, we're 3-1. So just stay humble. Don't get ahead of yourself, and don't sleep on the star players I just named, just because of their record and how they played the first 4 games. Don't take anything lightly at all. Stay focused, stay humble, and do your job. Just do your job.
Is this team ripe for a letdown or not yet? Or we're not there yet?
Yes. This division, the Browns and the Ravens, the AFC North, that's a nitty-gritty division. Some people say it's the best division of football. I know they're super physical, extremely physical. But I do feel like this could be recipe for a letdown. I feel like when we had Carson Wentz at the helm and we played the Browns, we thought we were going that game with a win. It was the Browns. And Jacoby Brissett had other plans, and they beat us. I think they beat us again last year, too, if we played them. It was Sam Howell. I can't remember, honestly. But we've taken them lightly the past few times we played, and it's time to change the narrative. And, of course, we won the Monday night game like we're supposed to. We're supposed to beat the Cardinals, get back home. It's perfect recipe for disaster. I don't know how that's set up that way, but it is. So, but I hope not, because we got Baltimore next week. So
yeah, we definitely got Baltimore next week. But some people are saying focus on Cleveland. We'll worry about Derrick Henry and Baltimore next week.
See, that's already scary. Yeah, but yeah, just stay focused. Stay focused.
Lamar and Derrick Henry, that's going to be a problem. I don't know if this team is ready for a letdown yet because they've spent 2 weeks on the road and now they're coming back home to where Northwest Stadium is going to it's going to be, as the kids say, it's going to be a movie, right?
Yeah,
it's going to be hopping there. And I think what Washington needs to do, as everybody has said, as you have even said, Trev, is they need to continue to run the ball.
Yes.
The weakness on Cleveland's defense is stopping the run, as you heard Spencer say. The best part of Washington's offense is running the ball. They're third in the league in running the ball. And if Eckler is back and you've got that two-headed monster there then of Eckler and Brian Robinson, then why change anything?
Right.
Why change anything that you've been doing on offense? I say you just keep doing it until somebody has shown that they can stop it. Then maybe you need to make adjustments. Don't get so ahead of yourself that thinking that you have to change everything up because you're worried that teams are going to adjust and stop you. Just keep doing what you've been doing. This offense obviously is rolling right along in 23 scoring drives and only 19 incompletions. Just keep doing that. And as somebody also said, you got to keep Myles Garrett in check. That dude's a problem. I don't care if he's hobbled by foot injuries, Achilles, thighs. I don't care what. He's a problem. He was the defensive player of the year last year for a reason. Yeah. He's already got 4 sacks in 4 games. Yeah. He had 2 this past week when, oh, by the way, he didn't practice at all last week. And then he went out and had 2 sacks.
Oh.
Right. You see what I'm saying? But what you can't do is you can't allow it to be a get-right game for that offense.
No,
who hasn't scored 20. Deshaun Watson hasn't thrown for over 200. Elijah Moore, who's wide receiver 3, has got things going on with his dad on social media, making issues. Chubb's not back. Njoku's not back. You got at least 3 offensive linemen who probably are not going to play. You have to take this wounded animal that is the Cleveland Browns at 1-3, an offense that can't do anything, and a defense that's having trouble stopping the run. You have to take advantage of that. You do that, which I think this team can still do. I don't think they're ripe for a letdown game yet, Trev. I got Washington winning this game. Their offense is Tressway's going to punt a few more times than he does, but I've still got Washington winning this game 28-23. I think Cleveland does get their offense going a little bit, but 23 points. So I've got Washington 28-23. Let's see what everybody has in the comment section as well for their score. Trev, what's your score?
I'm taking the Washington Commanders with the W this weekend, and I'm going to say 31-20. I think it's close. I think their defense, Cleveland's defense, keeps it close than what we like it to be. But I think we eventually wear them down and score late again and make it 31-20.
All right, so you've got Washington scoring 30, right on their average. They're averaging 30.5 point or 30.3, whatever it is per game. You've got them right on their average at 31. And you've got Cleveland 20. I get it. All right, I like it. Real Deal's got 34-28 Washington. Let's see. Doug has got 31-16 Washington. Our poll on our page has, I believe, on our community. If you haven't gone to our community page to vote in the poll there about who's going to win, I believe Washington is at 94%.
My God!
Oh,
why were we at 94% with Cleveland, but we weren't 94% against Arizona, who I believe is the worst team in Cleveland?
Well, it was fairly high. I'm going to go and look up. Hang on, I'm going to go look up what those numbers were. Let's see. Let's go to the community page. It is 94% to 6% for the Browns, and against Arizona, it was 90%.
Oh, okay. I take it back then.
Okay. Uptown's got it 31-20. Luis has got it 28-17. Jordan's got it 20-10. Jersey Slim's got it 27-17. I think you already had that up there, but and then Mike has got it 17-10. Low scoring, weird game. So that's what people are saying. We've got one more order of business to take care of, Trev. We've got to come up with our survivor pool selection. It's a tough week this week, Trev.
Yeah.
We've got to figure out who should be our survivor pool pick. We had San Francisco last week, so we can't take San Francisco.
Okay.
The team with the biggest odds of winning this week is Seattle at home against the New York Giants. It's a 5.5 point favorite. Also, another 5.5 point favorite is Chicago over Carolina. I'm not touching that.
I'm not touching that either.
No way. Everything else is very close except for San Francisco over Arizona, but we can't take San Francisco.
Go with Seattle. I don't see the Giants doing that.
You don't see the Giants going out there and Seattle, who
the 12th man? No.
Right.
Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN. I can never say his name. Jackson Smith Enigma or something like that.
Njigba.
Chardonnay. I know it's Charbonnet, but I call him Chardonnay.
Right.
It's a running back out there. So, like, they got weapons. They got defense. They got the Bo Mafi guy.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, remember him last year.
So, yeah. I don't see Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors overcoming that Seattle.
All right. Well, we'll probably take Seattle. And one last point also here that Real Deal Willie Will stop being scared. This is really happening. We're going to lose games, yes, but we're going to win so much more. We have a squad. And, I didn't tell this story last week, but last week after we beat Cincinnati on Monday night, and I went into the office on Tuesday, and I commute into D.C., right? And I arrive at Union Station there at D.C., and I walk from Union Station to my office, which is about two blocks from Capital One Arena, right? So it's about a 20-minute walk. And I walking right through the city, Chinatown, right in the middle of everything, right? And so Tuesday morning after beating Cincinnati and Jayden Daniels was amazing, of course I'm wearing my Commander's gear, right? I'm wearing this pullover and all this other stuff. Trev, I have never been so people just coming up to me everywhere and high-fiving me and fist bumping and, hitting the chest where the big W is. They're hitting their chest like, you know what I mean? It's everybody's already getting that buzz, that fever, that don't be scared. This is really happening, as Real Deal Willie Will said. that people are just, they're so, it's happening, Trev. And we have to allow it to happen, that this team's not going to go 16-1, right? There are going to be losses, but there's a possibility that this team can start sniffing, start talking playoffs. We're 25%
already there.
Here.
I know. I think we're already there.
It's okay. It's okay to
it's just weird.
Start feeling it.
It's just weird.
Yeah, it is a whole lot.
I'm not used to this feeling. So,
all right. So we've got Seattle is our survivor pick. We've got our picks in for the game. Everybody's jumping in here with all of their selections as well. Don't forget on Sunday after the game's at 1:05. So at about 4:15 p.m., we are going to be going live then for our instant reaction. So make sure you stop by then. Again, make sure you get into those comment section and let us know how you feel after the game and everything that happened. We have a good time doing that instant reaction as well, because last week it was fire.
It was
after beating Arizona. It was hopping. So we'll be doing that again this Sunday, about 4:15 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, every Wednesday, live 7:30 p.m. is our flagship on YouTube and Facebook. Make sure you're in here for that. We appreciate everybody who has been in here, just slamming the comments as usual. Uptown Dre, Real Deal, Willie Will, of course, Lockdown is always here from beginning to end. Mike H. J was here. PE, Jersey Slim, Gator Man, Jordan was in here. Who else was in here? Luis, of course, Dougford, Tommy T was in here earlier as well. Kevin Butler was here. So we appreciate everybody who's always jumping in. Uptown Dre, TJ was in here as well. Roger, we saw Roger earlier. Brian, it's always. Coach Lombard was here. Appreciate everybody who's always supported this show. We're going to continue to bring you great content. Like we said, every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. And after the game every week, we're going to have our live reaction. Make sure you hit a like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you are listening on audio, make sure you leave a rating and review. So, again, our information can be passed out there. Thanks for Spencer German, who came in. See, I said it right that time. From the Dog Check podcast on the Believe Network. We are a proud member of the Believe Network. And this has been brought to you by Bet Online and Don't Sleep Energy. And Trev, until next time,
eat the dub.
Oh, it's Jameis time. Eat a dub. Wait. Eat a dub. I love it.
Eat a dub.